I didn't have no legal background.
Yeah.
So what I did was I broke it down to where it's ABC 1, 2, 3. Like that book, it simplified. I keep going back to Supreme Court case law because this is the highest court in the land. This was just this year. It's called SEC versus Cochran, where the Supreme Court ruled that these administrative law judges, they violate the separation of powers. For them suspending your driver's license and actually incarcerating people for child support, they told child support in the courts that it's actually unlawful, that in order for them to even think about suspending your license.
Hey, wait. I know you want to watch this next video, but listen, if you are an entrepreneur, business coach, business consultant, or a small business owner who has a story and wants to learn how to create multiple streams of income from your story, I need you to text me right now, my book, to 646-687-4152. That is my personal number. I have been an author for over 12 years. I've written 10 books. 4 of them have been bestsellers, and I've sold over 100,000 books. But I've also helped a lot of my clients take their expertise and put it into a story, then create multiple streams of income from that. So I want to help you do the same thing. So text my book to 646-687-4152. All right, let's go back to the video. So welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. So listen, statistics show that men account for 85% of those ordered to pay child support. Even in the rare instance where the mother is ordered to pay child support, courts are not ordering women to pay as much as male providers. Annual child support payments average $5,450 from male providers and $3,500 from female providers, nearly 56% less. Disclaimer, this episode is not about advocating for any parent, man, or woman to not take care of their children, but I'll let my next guest explain how child support is fraud and how to avoid becoming a statistic. Welcome my guy Lionel Tilman, aka TJ, in the building. What's up, brother?
What it do, man? Man, I'm blessed to be here. It's great to be here.
Yes, sir.
That's a cold statistic.
Yes, sir.
That is a cold statistic.
And I'm really excited about this interview because when I hear you say child support is fraud, I'm like, wow, like that is a bold statement. That is a big statement. I know my insiders are like, yo, what is this guy talking about? But before we get there, for those who don't know, who is TJ Tilman?
Let's go on and do this right, because it ain't no Hollywood here. So
Yes,
look,
sir.
so my name is Lionel TJ Tilman. I am the author of How I Stopped Child Support Legally. Unfortunately, I had to represent myself in a 2-year hearing against child support, and my case was dismissed for extrinsic fraud after 22 years.
Wow.
22 years.
Wow.
So the courts ruled that child support frauded me for 22 years.
Wow. And so, I mean, I'll just jump right in it because I know when people see the title, when they see the thumbnail, they're going to be people who don't understand. They're going to be people that are coming in there, with hate.
Of course.
Are you advocating for deadbeat fathers?
No. My tagline is take care of them kids, though.
Yeah.
Because this ain't no get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a great father.
How many kids do you have?
I got 3.
Okay.
I got my daughter's 17, my boys is 10 and 8.
Yeah.
I've always had full custody. My children reside in my home their entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm a great father. I do not advocate for males or women, men or women, to not take care of their children.
Yeah.
I honestly believe 1,000% if a person does not take care of their child, they deserve to be on child support. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So child support is not for fathers like me fathers like you, fathers like the thousands of people that are on my platform that are fighting to get to see their children.
Yeah.
Like that, it's not about not taking care of your children. It's just making the playing field level, just like the statistic that you just read out, just making the playing field level. Yeah. And I also encourage all males, if you do not have joint physical custody of your children, get joint physical custody. It's a total difference between joint legal and joint physical. It's a big difference.
And so take us back, right? Because you said you were defrauded by child support for 22 years. How did you get on child support?
So I found out about my child support case 7 years after it opened. So that's a problem in itself. Yeah. I was in the street, so I was hustling. I didn't have a job. Once I got a job, I say probably about like 6 months in, on payday, HR called me and said, hey, Mr. Tilman, we need to speak to you. I go to HR. They're like, well, your check is going to be garnished effective immediately. I'm like, for what? What do you mean? It's like, oh, we just got an income withholding order for child support. I'm like, child support? Like, what do you mean child support? I call them. They tell me, unfortunately, you had 6 months to respond. It's been 7 years. 7 years? What do you mean it's been 7 years? According to Family Code XYZ, there's nothing that can be done.
Wow.
That's how I found out I was on child support 7 years after the case had already started.
Wow. And so first of all, like, was it your child?
No.
Okay.
So, which we proved this later on after the fact. At this point, it's 20 years later. But here's the thing. Him not being my child had no bearings on that case at all. Because when you are presumed as the legal father, we've seen it many times. People go and take DNA testing, and they say, well, no, you're not the father.
Yeah.
But you're the legal father, therefore, you're responsible. You now have an obligation to take care of this child because you've established that you are the father with the child, so that makes you the legal father.
Right.
So
right.
that has no bearings on the outcome of that case at all. Because even once they found out that it wasn't my child, I still had to fight for an additional year to get the case dismissed.
Wow. And so now, in the streets, so really didn't have a job. So that's why, they weren't able to pursue you. 7 years later, you get a job, you get an order to have to pay child support because, again, the 6 months had passed. At that moment, they started garnishing your wages, so you didn't have no due process, no way to defend yourself. It wasn't a choice, right? And so so potentially you could have decided like, yo, they taking my money, so I'm not working legally no more. I'll go back to the streets.
Yeah,
right.
That
which happens a lot.
Yeah,
right.
More times than often.
Yeah,
more time, especially. Like I speak to a lot of men who this is their mindset. It's like, bro, I can't live like this. I don't want to go back to the streets, but I cannot live. If someone's getting paid $2,500 a month and they're taking $2,100, it's like, yo, I can't even pay my rent. I can't do nothing. Right. It's like I gotta go back to the streets and do what I do. And unfortunately, that is the mindset for a lot of men and some women, because it's not just men on child, it's predominantly men, but there are a lot of women on child support that I educate as well.
Wow. And how long did you wind up paying child support?
For 20 years.
So from that moment, they started garnishing your
13 years. Okay. Because the first 7,
right.
I was in the street, so there was nothing for them to take.
Right.
So for 13 years.
And so for 13 years, you're paying. Did you have a relationship with the mother?
No.
So I'm confused, right? So, right? Because I'm confused. Right. So. Oh no, Mike. Okay, gotcha. Yep. Wait. So I'm confused. So, 7 years later, you've been, charged with child support for a child that's not yours with a woman that you did not have a relationship with.
No. So I tried to tap dance around this subject because my goal is not to make her look bad. She's a mother. She has other children.
Right.
I know who she is.
Yeah.
And that's just not who I am to tear women down. But
did y'all date at all? But you know who she is.
Here's this gonna blow your mind.
Yeah.
I'm 11, 12 years old at this time. I'm 11 and 12 years old at this time. So now, I see your brain is going. He's like, wait, what? What I later proved in court, at that time when a child was, let me just say this. I never even penetrated the woman. Let's just start there. Right. I never penetrated her. But later on, once I went to junior high school, I took a sex education class, and I found out that a woman can get pregnant from pre-com. So what we went through the process of in this court hearing, at the time when that child was conceived, I hadn't even reached puberty. I wasn't even producing semen.
Wow.
I'm gonna say that again because I don't want that to go past nobody's head. At the time, what camera? This one right here? This one, that one right there. Yeah. At the time that the child was conceived, I was not even capable of producing semen.
Wow. Wow. But still, the courts was able to garnish your wages based on...
Because, see, they have something called prima facie. Mm-hmm. Prima facie means the courts take whatever is filed as true and correct until you provide evidence to show that it's not.
I thought it was innocent till proven guilty.
That's in a criminal matter. Child support is not a judicial matter. It's an administrative process. That goes into the different branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. Child support is part of the executive branch. Criminal matters are part of the judicial branch. So it's in judicial, yes, you're innocent until proven guilty, but in an administrative process, they go under prima facie. You're actually guilty until you provide evidence to show that you're innocent.
Wow. Yeah. And so because you didn't know for 7 years, and then now they start garnishing your wages, you're fighting for 13 years, what finally clicked, and how did you finally get your child support off of you, and then did you get the money back?
So how it started, so during this process of that 13 years, they're taking my money and they're taking my license. That's their number one coercion tactic, is to take your license. So they're taking my license, so I'm now, on top of the money that they're taking, I'm paying them an additional $50 a month so my license will not get suspended. But every year, a system error happened and my license got suspended. So now I had to pay them an additional $50 on top of the $50 that I was paying them, on top of the money that they was taking every month to get my license back. And then I had to pay the DMV an additional $75 to reinstate my license every year. For 13 years, there was a system error. This is what they told me. Wow. It's a system error. Wow. For 13 years. So this is what went on for 13 years. And just in this particular, I don't know what it was about this time, I was just fed up. Like, my license got suspended again, and I'm calling them. We do the same dance every year. So I call them and I'm talking to them. I'm like, man, I don't even know why I'm going through this in any way. Like, this shit is fraud. Like, and the lady said, fraud? What do you mean fraud? You got served. I said, whoa, wait, what do you mean? I got served? She said, yeah, you got served. I said, okay, well, tell me what day I got served. She placed me on hold. She came back. She said, I'm sorry, Mr. Tilman. We do not have your signature. It was a Maury moment. We do not have your signature. I'm like, what? I know you don't have my signature because I've been with me every day of my life. Right. I know that I didn't get served. Right. So I'm like, okay. She said, well, that don't matter anyway because you volunteered into the program. I did what? I volunteered into the program. What do you mean? Yeah. She said, yeah, you volunteered into the program. I said, okay, well, tell me what day did I volunteer? I bullshit you not, Ash. This lady put me on hold. She came back and she said, I'm sorry, Mr. Tilman. We do not have your signature.
Wow.
At this point, I'm doing what everyone does. I need to speak to a manager. I need to speak to somebody else. And so they put me with this UMBUS department. They're supposed to be like the internal affairs for child support. Ultimately, they didn't do anything. They said that she made a mistake by saying that she had my signature, and that's as far as it went. So now I knew that they were supposed to serve me. And I knew that I didn't volunteer into this program. Yeah. So now my mind is, okay, if they're saying that I did this and now I know for a fact that they don't have that, what else are they supposed to do that they didn't do? So that's where I start going. I started looking into their policy. Now, just so happened, I want to say it was probably like a few months later, I'm engaged. I'm finna get married in a few months. So this was like April. I'm getting married in July. I applied for a passport. Waiting for the passport to come back. June come. I get the letter from the passport administration. Rip it open. I'm waiting to see my passport. Denial letter. Denial? What do you mean? You owe back pay child support. My wife is going crazy. Wow. We've already paid $3,800 to go to Punta Cana.
Wow.
Now I got to tell my wife, you can go, but I can't go.
Wow.
On our honeymoon.
Right.
How do you think that went? Not good.
Not at all.
She put a battery in my back. You need to fix this shit.
Right.
You need to fix it. And from that point on, I dove heavy into my research. And I found my mentor. His name is Rick W. on YouTube. He's an ex-NYPD police officer who taught the NYPD their policies, and he teaches them the law to stay in compliance. He just so happened to be on child support, and everything that I was searching for, he was going through the exact same thing, and I was able to see what he did to chase remedy. And based on my research and what I learned from him, there was no turning back. Wow. I took them to court, and I represented myself in a 2-year hearing.
Wow, wow, wow. And so now, you know, based on your experiences, based on everything that you've been able to do, you wrote a book, and you now teach people how to do this as well. Did the child support department, did you get hold? Did you get paid back the money that you
So once the case was dismissed, they offered to pay me back dollar for dollar. I declined it because child support put interest on everything. So if everyone that's on child support, they notice that just like with anything else, the interest supersedes the principal.
Right.
The interest goes to the other parent. The principal goes to the other parent, but the interest goes to child support. That's their fee. Right. So how is your fee superseding the principal?
Right.
So they said that I was when it was dismissed, it was $64,000 in arrears. $22,000 of it was allegedly owed to the girl, and $40-some thousand was to child support. This is because they add a 10% compounded interest on every dollar. So your dollars are having babies. Wow. So every dollar, they're adding 10% every year. So that's how the interest supersedes the principal.
Wow.
But to answer your question, they offered me penny for penny. I declined it because y'all like interest. I want interest too.
Absolutely.
I need 22 years of damages. So right now, as we speak, and I haven't said this on camera, but this is Inside the Vault with Ash Cass.
Yes,
this is my introduction to the world. Right now, as we speak, I have a $10 million lawsuit in federal court against child support.
Wow. And shoosh. So do you think is child support in the best interest of a child?
I'm not going to even give you my opinion. I'm going to give you a Supreme Court case law. Now, the Supreme Court is the highest law in the land. Don't get no higher than that.
Yeah.
There's a Supreme Court case law called Blessing versus Freestone, where the Supreme Court, child support actually told on themselves. They say that it's in the best interest of the child, but they were getting sued by these 5 women in Arizona because their children were on receiving public assistance, and they went after the fathers for child support. The money that they were collecting, the women were only getting a small portion of it. So they sued child support and said, hey, y'all keeping all our money. Child support said, no, no, no. Child support was never intended to benefit the child nor the custodial parent. The Supreme Court agreed. It's a historic case law. It's called Blessing versus Freestone, where child support told on themselves and said that it was never intended to benefit the child nor the custodial parent. It was intended to benefit the state because the states receive an incentive. They get a kickback based on their performance of collecting child support, putting people on child support, the arrears that they collect. So they're getting an incentive kickback, and this is, what is it, 42 USC 658A, the incentive payments. They receive over a $500 million a year annually, just in bonuses. This ain't got nothing to do with nothing, just based on your performance. So that's what Blessing versus Freestone, that's what they told those women. They said, look, child support was never intended to benefit the child. It's not in the best interest of the child. It's intended to benefit our employer, the state. This is not my opinion. This is fact.
Wow. And so child support is fraud. Tell me, break that down for me, brother.
So child support is fraud. I came up with the title on June 18, 2018, when my case was dismissed. As I walked out of my hearing, I'm in the foyer, or however you pronounce it, of the court, and I pulled my phone out. Child support is fraud. My case just got dismissed for extrinsic fraud after 22 years, and it stuck. It just came natural, and that's my case got dismissed for extrinsic fraud. So they can't sue me for defamation of character because my case got dismissed for extrinsic fraud. But now here's the thing. So we can break it down. We can take it to the beginning, because when you ask how is child support fraud, we can say, okay, well, we can go to the establishment of paternity. When they establish paternity, when you have a child, I know you got children. 2 children, yeah. So at that time, when your wife was in the hospital, she gave birth, and maybe the same day or the next day, lady came in there with that clipboard. There's no rush. There's no rush. Just when you get time, just go ahead and fill this out. What they did, they just gave you a contract. It's a dual contract, because at the bottom or on the back, it tells you before signing this, you may want to seek legal representation. Why do I need to seek legal representation if I'm just signing an acknowledgement of paternity? You don't know that. So, but here's the thing. At that time, when you're presented with that acknowledgement of paternity, they're supposed to provide you with the disclosures. Just like when you purchase a car, if you lease a car, they give you that CVS long list full of disclosures. If they're supposed to provide you the disclosures, that is 45 CFR 303.5. That's Code of Federal Regulations. They're supposed to provide you with the legal consequences of establishing paternity when they provide you with that document. They're supposed to give it to you in person, or by audio, or by video. That's 1. 2, in writing. 3, they're supposed to provide you with the opportunity to speak with a trained professional, because they presume, if I told Ash, if you sign this acknowledgement of paternity, if you don't abide by our rules, you are waiving your rights, and you're saying that you agree to license suspension, possible jail time, income withholding order, bank levies. But if they don't provide you with those disclosures at that point, they just voided out this contract. It's void. So at that point, that's step A. So child support, we can take it all the way back. Child support started in 1935 because of Title 4A. Title 4A is the program that provides government assistance to needy families. And then in 1975, they revisited it and said, well, look, we're giving out too much money. Before I go, in 1935, that money is a grant. So what is a grant? What do you know is a grant?
Money that's given that you don't got to pay back.
Okay, so that's 1935. They're giving out this grant. You don't have to pay it back. 1975, they turn around and say, whoa, we giving out too much money. Where are we giving out this money to? They look at it, oh, these is in poverty communities. So now they created another, in the Social Security Act, they added Title 4D of the Social Security Act, which says that this is the child support enforcement. Now they created a whole program to go after people to repay a debt. I mean, a grant. They gave the money out as a grant, but now you created this program to go after people because now you saying I have an obligation. But how can you have an obligation to participate in something that's voluntary? Child support is voluntary. This is not my opinion, this is fact.
Yeah.
You can look at 45 CFR 303.5. The word voluntary was used 20 times because you have to give consent.
Right.
It's a voluntary program. So that's that. Now.
So wait. So you're saying that anybody who is on child support is voluntary by law, but you waive that right to voluntary child support when you sign that paper acknowledging paternal or maternal.
Yeah. When you sign that document, you waived your right and you acknowledge paternity, you recognize their authority. That's one way. Or if you don't, some people don't even sign, they're not in a hospital to sign a birth certificate. So what they do at this point, they send you a notice, they come in to sign, do you agree? If you don't agree, we can take a DNA testing. If you want, at that point, that's another point where they establish paternity. Again, they have to give you the full disclosures. If they don't provide you those disclosures, paternity was never established. Exactly.
Wow.
So at that point, there's three. Just say, for instance, you didn't go, they sent a notice, you didn't go to the hearing, you didn't show up. Now you have a hearing, you don't show up at all, they default you because you didn't show up.
Yeah.
So now at that point, paternity is now established based on a default. But if you show up without making something called a special appearance, you're still recognizing their authority because you showed up. And it tells you that even though that you don't know that a special appearance is available to you, if you show up and make a general appearance, you've now waived all of your rights and you gave us jurisdiction over you.
Wow.
It's like when I really look at that system that they have, it's evil, but when you really look at it, it's beautiful. The way they structured it, it's a cold piece of work, man.
Wow. And so how, with everything that you just mentioned just now, obviously there are people who don't take care of their kids, right? And they are on child support. But for those who are taking care of their kids, or for those who are put on child support illegally, how is that even happening though, right? How is that even a thing? Like when we think about you, not even being old enough to conceive a child, right? But still be put on child support, battle through this for 13 years. What do we have to prove? Like the onus is not like all I gotta give is your name and that's it.
That's it. There's no checks and balances. Anyone can put anyone on child support. So I have a podcast where it's called Is Child Support Fraud? My very first guest was a woman that was on child support, which me and my partner, one credit guy, we helped her and assisted her in educating her to where she went in there and fought for herself and she got her case dismissed. This woman has her children. She has full custody of her kids. Kids always lived in her house. Her ex-husband, which lived in a whole nother county, went and got the county the benefits, and they put her on child support, even though the kids lived with her.
Wow.
She had to go and fight, even though the kids resided with her. This man did not have the kids. There's no checks and balances. Anybody can put you on child support.
So he went to try to get like public assistance.
Exactly. And then they came after her for the child support.
Wow.
Because the thing is,
and he went to get public assistance for the kids.
For the kids.
Even though he didn't even
have the kids.
30, yep.
And he didn't even have the kids, and she still had to go and fight it. So even though she proved that she had the kids and all that, they still was about to tell her, okay, we'll just modify it to 0. And she said, no, I don't want it at 0. I need the case dismissed because it was based on fraud. And they ultimately dismissed her case. But to answer your question, you asked, how can they even do this? How is it lawful? It's prima facie. Because they take everything as true and correct until you provide evidence to show that it's not.
Wow.
That's how.
Wow. How can that be? Is there a reversal process to this, or is this one of those things that will remain intact, and there just needs to be, someone like you who knows the law and knows the information to help people out?
It's gonna remain intact. Because when you think about even the how he was able to do that is because of child support is still running off of laws from 1935. Because at that time, women couldn't work. So if a man left a woman in 1935, he has abandoned that woman. She can't fend for herself because women couldn't work in 1935.
Right.
So at that point, they say you've abandoned your child. These are because there has to be an injury in order for them to open this case. They're saying you've abandoned your child, and to prevent your child from becoming dependent or needy upon government assistance, they're coming after this person as the non-custodial parent.
Wow. And I think it's important to note that child support affects your credit. It affects your like you said, garnishing wages. Your government benefits, driving privileges. Like, this isn't like, and I'm just talking to the insiders now, because I'm sure whether you're watching this because you've been a victim or somebody who's been a victim, just understand that this affects all of us in a drastic way, and specifically financially, but then also the kids get affected as well.
Of course. So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm gonna say this: child support should not be on your credit report. If you're watching this right now and you can hear the sound of my voice, if child support is on your credit report right now, it's unlawful. And it's been unlawful for the last 20 years.
Wow.
But based on prima facie, if you don't know this, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they sent a notice to child support telling them the laws have changed. This was 20 years ago. The law has changed, and if you put this on someone's credit, it is unlawful because it did not start from a credit transaction.
Right.
It's not, you didn't give credit. So if it's on your credit report right now, that is unlawful.
Wow.
This is not my opinion. This is fact.
Wow. And so talk a little bit about, right? So like, after you went through what you went through, and you realize, right, child support is fraud. There's a lot going on. What made you want to write the book? What made you want to become a consultant, right? Because you literally, not only have you written a book about child support being fraud and how to get child support off of you, but you also have helped thousands of people get out of child support. What was the motivation behind that?
The motivation was by demand. It's not something that once I got my case dismissed, it started off just like with anything. Now, my wife is referring me to people. TJ know how to get my family. Yo, can you help me? That's how it started, and it just, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? But I was documenting my hearing on Instagram. I'll post some, hey, I'm going to court today. So once my case got dismissed, Now everybody that follows me, they like, yo, help me because I see it. I went through it and I seen it. So that's how it started, and it just grew from there. Like as far as the book, initially what I was doing, I was just educating people on the documents that I use, and it was too much for people to just take in because I understood it because I didn't have no legal background.
Yeah.
So what I did was I broke it down to where it's ABC 1, 2, 3. Like that book, it simplified, like to where anybody can read it and you'll just get it.
Yeah.
Because not only is it's just not a read through, it has illustrations. It has court documents in the book. Like my name is on them. The fake judge name is on them.
Wow.
They got court seals on them. It's a lot.
Is it the fake judge?
Yeah, the fake judge.
Yeah.
Because child support is not it's an administrative hearing. They're not judicial officers. When you go through child support, so family court, when you're going through child custody, visitation and things of that nature, that's a judicial process. But once you go to child support, that's an administrative process that goes back to executive, legislative, and judicial. So when you ask, how is child support fraud? Because everything that we've already talked about, this is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to give you disclosures. And something big, 28 USC 1691 says that all writs and processes in the issued from a court in the United States must be under the seal of the court and signed by the clerk thereof. My documents, they were not signed by the actual clerk. So when you look at that, on top, and people always ask me, well, what if they did this right? What if they did that? What if they gave the disclosure? What if they did? Well, how was child support fraud then if they did everything right?
Right.
The fake judge. Because it's not a judicial matter. An attorney cannot issue a judicial order. This is not my opinion. This is fact. This is, Burnham versus Superior Court, where the Supreme Court ruled that it's something called quorum non judice. That means before a person, not a judge. They ruled that it's just like, have you ever seen, I'm sure you watch Law and Order.
Oh, 100% all the time.
You know when they come knocking on the judge door 3 a.m, judge, they running it down. Can you please sign this warrant? They need that signature from a judge. It's the same thing for an income withholding order because it is an instrument to deprive you of your personal property. These fake judges in these hearings, they are attorneys acting as a temporary judge. They can hear your case with your consent, but they cannot issue the actual judgment. So the fact that a fake judge issued your judgment, that makes it fraud because an attorney can't issue a money judgment.
And so, where do you go to fight against the fake judges and child support being fraud?
In their same hearing, in their administrative process. So when I got my documents, I went exactly where it said Los Angeles Superior Court on here. That's where I went. So you go to the same place where they have their fake hearing. Now here's the thing. There's something called the separation of powers. Now we finna go back into high school.
Right.
The separation of powers. They teach you about judicial,
Yep.
legislative, and executive. In those branches of government, if you're in the judicial, you can't partake in the legislative. So the legislative, that's Congress, they make the laws. The executive is the president. They enforce the laws. And judicial, they make sure that the laws are in line with the Constitution. In child support hearing, they have family codes. So they're playing legislative. They're making their own codes. They have child support Title 4D enforcement. They're enforcing their own, that now they're playing executive. And then they're playing judicial by finding you guilty in their own hearing. They're playing in all 3 branches of government.
Wow.
So and I keep saying this, and for people that know, I keep going back to Supreme Court case law because this is the highest court in the land. This was just this year. It's called SEC versus Cochran, where the Supreme Court ruled that these administrative law judges, they violate the separation of powers. I don't care what they can do everything correct. The fact that they create their own codes, enforce their own codes, and find you guilty in their own hearings, that makes it fraud.
Wow.
Because they have procedures in place. They have due process safeguards. They have to provide you due process under the 14th Amendment.
Wow.
And that makes it fraud.
And so you got fake judges, fake hearings, but in order to get your, whatever you're being accused of as child support reversed, they have to agree on that as well.
So with that case, yes, if you don't take it out of there and take it to a federal level, because in that case, the SEC versus Cochran, they also ruled that they can now take your hearing, you can take it out of there and have it moved to an Article III judge, which is an actual judge on a federal level. Wow. And this was just this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the success that you've had with, some of your students, right? So like, being able to work with thousands of people, whether reading your book or working with them directly, what are some of the successes? And give me some, almost like profiles of people who, the type of people you've been working with.
So successes, the first one that comes to my mind is, of course, like I already spoke on, is the young lady who has custody of her kids. She was on child support. She ended up getting her case dismissed. Second, I would say there was a guy who lived in Florida. His mother, the mother and child, they actually lived here in Atlanta. So there's this preconceived notion that you can't have joint physical custody if you're residing in two different states or in two different cities. That's false. Based on the education that I provided to this man, he went and got joint physical custody living in a whole nother state because joint physical, so let me say this. Before you signed the acknowledgement of paternity, was your child not your child? It is my God-given right to equal opportunity with my child. I'm not waiving any of my rights. Right. So he went in there and he got joint physical custody living in two different states. So, and that's the thing. That's why I say joint physical custody is the key. I encourage everybody to get, no matter where you are in your child support phase, like everyone should have custody of their kids because that's what's truly in the best interest of the child. To answer your other question was what type of profile, and the people that I'm dealing with, it's mostly the average everyday person, the blue collar, the hard worker, the 9-to-5er, because this is the people that they go after the most. Right. They're targeted. There's something called the Dear Colleague letter. The Department of Justice just released this year. It was April 20th, 2023, where they actually, it's crazy that they did it because they put in there to where for them suspending your driver's license and actually incarcerating people for child support, they told child support and the courts that it's actually unlawful, that in order for them to even think about suspending your license, they have to first give that person a poverty hearing, where it's called an indigent hearing, but it's, in layman's term, it's a poverty hearing to see if you can even pay these fines and fees that they're trying to put on you. If they don't provide you with that hearing, and even then, if it's not paid, if they can't prove that you didn't willfully just say, fuck this, I ain't paying for my child, and they gonna get you. But if you've been paying and you've been actively in your children's life, they have to give you that poverty hearing. And then they also have to look at other options to satisfy their interests before they even suspend your license, because if we want to take it lawfully, the only license that they can actually suspend is a liquor license.
Wow.
It's a liquor license. That's it.
You mentioned that you represented yourself in your hearing. Do you advise that of other people, or is this something that people should be, going to lawyers for?
That's a great question, because in this administrative process, when you hire an attorney, you are recognizing their authority and you're giving them jurisdiction over you. You waiving your rights. You waived your rights, and you waived your right, and you gave them jurisdiction over you in this matter. So it's crazy, because they say ignorance of the law is not a legal defense. It's not. So as soon as you hire an attorney, you recognize their authority, you gave them jurisdiction over you. So me, knowing what I know now, I don't give legal advice, but I mean, the facts is the facts. Hiring an attorney, it gives them jurisdiction over you.
Wow.
And jurisdiction comes from evidence.
Wow. So how would you, like, how do you propose, how do we make it better?
To be totally 1,000% with you, it has to be overhauled. Like, it has to go back to the beginning because, like I said, they're still on laws from 1935. We're in 2023.
You're talking about 88 years.
That's what they're still going off of.
Wow.
1935. It has to start there.
Right.
Like, that has to change first. Because once that changes, that opens the doors for everything else. So, unfortunately, it's an individual process, and people always telling me, like, yo, you need to start a class action. I take the first words in the Constitution, it says, we the people. And I take that literally. Like, it ain't about the money, because if I do a class action, only me and the attorney gonna get all of the money. Everybody else,
Right.
Wells Fargo, they getting sued every year.
Right.
They keep sending me $40 checks. And,
Right. Yeah.
Man, I'm sitting in the back. I don't want that because at that point, you're not gonna really benefit from it.
Yeah.
Like it has to start from the beginning.
Yeah. And so what, like, man, like, and I have so many questions though, because I'm like, and just playing devil's advocate, if you will.
Okay.
If child support is fraud, and there are people out here who are not taking care of their kids, how, this information would, like, how can a parent get financial support from a deadbeat dad or a deadbeat mom?
Child support. I 1,000%.
Yeah.
Go through the child support through the process.
Yeah.
If a person is not taking care of their kids, they deserve to be on child support.
Yeah.
I have no problems with that. My thing is just making it for the fathers and mothers who are actively fighting to be in their children's lives, to where there's parental alienation. Why are you fighting to keep your child from the other parent?
Right.
Like, that parental alienation is real. People go to jail for that.
Right.
So, like, and people always ask me, like, yo, are you helping deadbeats? In this process, Ash, I've done more studying for this than I ever have in my entire life, through my entire 12 years of school. Well, 13, because I flunked the 10th grade. And I had to do the 10th grade twice.
Yeah.
So my 13 years of public schooling, I've did more studying within those 2 years than I ever have. A deadbeat ain't got time to do that, bro. They ain't got time. Because it ain't no quick fix. It ain't just, okay, file these motions.
Right.
And that's a whole nother thing. But filing these documents and you think it's just going to go away. No.
Right.
I just told you the kid wasn't mine. I proved that it was signed by a fake judge. I proved it wasn't signed by the clerk. I proved that I didn't even talk about that part. They didn't even serve me. They served me, at which I later proved was at a vacant house. So this is how they couldn't find me. Right. So those 7 years, I've proved, I went and got the documents. So what I did was, I went back to the beginning. I got the summons, the complaint, the proof of service. I had a default and a judgment. I went back to the very beginning and I got those documents. Once I seen that proof of service and I seen where they said they allegedly served me at, I knew I didn't live there at that time. So I said, okay, well, and I was a minor.
Right.
And I was a minor. And I was a minor. So wherever my mother and grandmother lives, I live. So what did I do? I subpoenaed Los Angeles County Department of Water and Power to say who lived at this place at this time. I made Los Angeles County come testify on my behalf against Los Angeles County. Wow. They did not want to do it. I had to send them a subpoena to do it. Wow. And I subpoenaed the owner of the home. She said, well, at this time, Nobody lived there. They said that they allegedly served me at a vacant house.
Wow.
So I proved, once I did all of this, I proved all of this, that none of that mattered. Guess what they said? Your response is untimely. They still went back to the 6 months.
Wow. Wow.
None of that other stuff mattered.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
Yeah. Wow. 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 And so what would you say is, like, I would suspect that there's, millions, billions maybe of dollars that people are paying, especially because what you mentioned was, not only is some of that money going to the state or money goes to the parent, but majority of that money is going to the state. So you're talking about millions, maybe billions of dollars since 1935 are in the hands of
Since
states.
1975, that's
1975.
when, right? That's when the Title 4D was created.
1975 to 2023.
Yeah.
That they've been collecting illegally.
Yes.
If you will.
Yeah, because their fee, child support collects 66% on every dollar. That's what they keep.
Wow.
66 cents.
60. Wow. So they get 2/3 of every dollar.
They keep 66% on every dollar that they collect. So now let's go back to Blessing versus Freestone, where those 5 women in Arizona sued child support.
Right.
Because they like, yo, you went and collected all that child support. Where our money at?
Right.
They said no. Well, based on what Congress wrote, we're only entitled to give you the first $50 of the money that we collect per pay period.
Wow.
The first $50, that's it.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But it's in the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
But you keeping all the money.
Yeah.
It's going back to the state.
Wow. Wow. Man, talk about your master class, because I know, there's like you said, there's a lot of studying you've done. You've helped many people, get what's rightfully theirs, right? And then now, you have a mission, and you're wanting to help those who are wrongfully,
Of course.
being taken advantage of through child support. You want to help them, sort of gain back their freedom and their
parental rights.
Their parental rights back. And you're doing that through a masterclass. Talk about your masterclass.
So the masterclass, it's a process to where I'm busting it down step by step. I'm talking about the documents, the case law, the actual laws. We're going through it step by step to where you can understand, first and foremost, what are your parental rights.
Yeah.
Because once you know that you have rights, now you can invoke them. Because you can't invoke nothing if you don't even know that you have the rights. So that's where we started, just educating parents on their parental rights, to be able to invoke them and create competent defense for themselves. I mean, it covers everything from the beginning stage, from getting started to the hearing to after the case is done. Once the case is over, and not just what are you going to do now? Right. Are you still taking care of your children? So that's why the whole purpose of, we also talk about getting joint physical custody, because if you have joint physical custody of your children, you're spending more time with them. You have to. It's 50-50, whether they're in school, they stay with the other parent during school times, and then they come with you during the summer, or whatever the situation is. If you're in a close proximity, 1 week on, 1 week off. We just educating everyone on their parental rights and how to protect themselves, and at the same time being actively in their children's lives, and implementing, once the child support case is actually dismissed, like, what now can you do with this new income that you have now it's in a reserve, right, to where you can actually put it in place for your children to do good for them, to to educate them financially, so now that it's just not gone to the wayside.
Wow. How do we stop? How do we stop, or can we stop information like this getting in the wrong hands, right? Because information is information, right? But again, at the same time, though, there are people out there who don't mean well, you know?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about, I do consultations and I speak to a lot of people, and I know it. I know when someone just takes the information that they see on the internet, regurgitate it, they go in the hearing and they saying, oh, it's fraud, I wasn't served, and then they respond.
Yeah.
Who, I can't remember what boxer it was. Everybody ready to box until you get punched back.
Mike Tyson, yeah.
When you get punched back, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. Oh yeah, I went in there and said this, and then they denied it because you didn't do the education. You just went and took it and thinking you was finna go in there. You thought it was finna be sweet.
Right.
This ain't no get out of jail free card. It is not a simple process.
Yeah.
You gotta go in and research. And I always tell people, if you ain't willing to put in the work and you ain't willing to do the research, it's gonna be a process.
Right.
Leave them people alone, man.
Right.
If you ain't ready to do what Doughboy did, I'm talking about pulling up, do your stuff, get out, kick them while you on the ground,
Right.
and do your stuff. If you ain't ready to go all the way, leave them people alone, because this is not no simple process.
Right.
This is not a quick fix. You're not just gonna go in there and just say some things that you heard on the internet. So it doesn't matter about it getting in the wrong hands, because they don't know how to respond when they get punched back.
Got it.
It never works.
Yeah.
It never works. So that's why I started laughing, because I think of hundreds of people who've called and said, yo, I did this and it didn't work. And I'm just like,
right.
I know why it didn't work.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's why I always say, you know, and all my insiders know, I always talk about making sure that you have a mentor.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's one thing to hear information. Like you think about this, right? Like, you know, there are tons of books about money, right? 40 million people have read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but we don't have 40 million people who are millionaires.
True.
Right? You got millions of people have, you know, watched shows about money and learned, you know, or how to cook or whatever, but they can't do these things because, you know, information alone is not what it is.
It ain't
right?
enough.
You have to have that information, but you have to be able to connect with somebody who has done it before, and that person can mentor you through this, you know, through the situation in order to help you get the result that you see.
And I'm real humble and reserved. Like people that really know me, like they see me and like it's unbelievable for them to watch me on an internet and being just how vocal and passionate I am. And it's like, because like they know me, it's like, you're a real reserved guy. So to see you in this light, and that's because, bro, like you don't understand, like to go through this process and to have people just violate your parental rights.
Yeah.
Just violate you from the gate, bro. Yeah. It's like it pushes something in you.
Yeah.
It just pushes something in you to where I'm very passionate about helping others, because I didn't want my success to be an individual success. So that's why I started documenting it. And then once it started growing, it now I have a responsibility. And now that I know, as the platform is growing, like I know certain things, I watch what I say, because I don't want, because I can say something and I already know once that lands in the wrong hands, they're gonna just go and try to go and do it.
Yeah.
That's why I never said it publicly.
Yeah.
And like I'll just say it on camera, but I'm not gonna tell them the code or what. You cannot go to jail for child support. You can't go to jail for child support. Child support is a debt. It's a debt. Now, I know I can almost guarantee you when I said that, there's going to be a lot of consumer law people in the comments saying, hey, the FCPB or whatever it is, they said that child support is not a debt. I'll show you after this is over. You can't go to jail for child support, bro.
Wow.
And like, it's just certain things that knowing the responsibility that I have, I'm very mindful about the things that I say, because I don't want it to
Be misused.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Misused.
Yeah. So the information and the education that I do provide, it's just on a general scale because these are the laws.
Yeah.
But like you said, just having the information alone, I can tell you exactly what to do. And some people still is like, yo, I just don't get it because they can't process of once they start having to do this research, it's like, oh, this too much. This ain't what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you're giving out information during the training program. We're gonna put the link in the description so y'all can click on the link to join the free masterclass. And so, where do you see? Obviously, you've been called, if you will, to do this work, right? Through your experience, through you being unfairly taken advantage of, and now sort of fighting back and helping those who are being taken advantage of. Where do you see your work? Like, what's the next iteration of it, or where do you see it growing to?
the next phase is the ultimate goal is to overhaul the child support system. Like, that's the actual goal, because providing all of this education is great, and people will obtain custody of their children. People will now get off of child support, but it's still going to keep going. So the actual goal is to just overhaul it to where there's checks and balances, to where things like with the young lady Nikki, where people can't just go fill out an application, and now situations like me to where people can't just go and serve you at a vacant house or it not be your child or whatever the case may be. It's just making the playing field equal. So that's the goal.
Yeah.
Is really getting with the right people to actually move towards Congress to changing some of these laws.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and that's important because like you mentioned, as you start thinking about these laws being enacted in 1935, 1975, and now we're 2023. Some of these laws are affecting a lot of people.
Yeah.
People are literally losing money, literally not building wealth though too, right? Because you got to think about $1,000 a month is somebody's mortgage.
Yeah.
Right. And so you see the rise of homelessness. You see crime. And I mean, you grew up in the hood. I grew up in the hood. Like we've been around people who, like, they don't get jobs.
No.
Because they're like, yo, I got this child support. And so now, people who have child support who may want to do the right thing are not doing the right thing because of, and again, I'm not talking about deadbeats, right? I'm not talking about deadbeats.
Yeah, of course.
But people who want to do the right thing, who are like, yo, nah, I can't get a job because I got this child support on me. And then not having the information to know how to get it off of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. And like what I like when we have conversations about the word deadbeat, because when you look at the definition of a deadbeat, and I always tell people, you got to be careful about the words you use, because when you say deadbeat, I said, look, if you got a derogatory on your credit report right now as we speak, by definition, you're a deadbeat.
Wow. Because
it says that someone that's not willing to pay their obligation. That's the definition of a deadbeat.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's people in the hood. We've always been told, man, just pay your child support, just because either that or you're gonna suspend your license or you're going to jail. Yeah. That's what we were taught. Yeah. It's just like with everything, and like the first person I heard say this was my guy, Derek Grace. He said, man, we have to unlearn and relearn. That when soon as he said it, the first time I heard it, I was like, yo, like it just stuck with me. Like everything that they taught us was a lie. Everything that they taught us was a lie. we have to unlearn and relearn because we now know. I was about to say something about Santa Claus, but my kids, you know.
Yeah. So where can the people, if they want to like register for the master class, where can they find that?
So childsupportersfraud.com. Everything is there. Is trying to make it real simple. It's childsupportersfraud.com. You can register for the master class. I'm actually doing my first live webinar September 9th. It's going to be very interesting to be live and to bust it down. Like we going to cover everything. But everything is on childsupportersfraud.com. Just keep it real simple.
Yeah. Nah, awesome. And so what's the future, right? So you talked about you got the book, you got coaching, working with legislatures, so right, to change over the laws. What is the future of TJ Tilman?
The future ultimately is creating a nonprofit to just assist, because child support and family court, they're two different things.
Yeah.
It just is educating people on their parental rights. Like that's a whole thing in itself. Yeah. So just creating a foundation to educate men and women of their parental rights. And it's good for women as well, because once they know that these are the actual rights, so we can get rid of this is my child. This ain't just your child. These are our children.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is not an attack on women, but like a lot of women do use the children as weapons in this matter. This is my child, and I've seen it with some husbands or some fathers who actually have the children. These are my kids. Like, it go both ways, but we just got to get that these are my children. Now, if a person is not actively in the kid's life, then
and if the person is a danger to the child,
of course. Yeah. If you, and that's the thing. That's the only way that they can deny a willing person of their parental rights. There has to be history of drugs, neglect, or abuse.
Yeah. And it sounds like your mission is bigger. You know? It sounds like the mission is not only, like, this is the beginning of it. Yeah. Right? The beginning is shedding a light to how child support is fraud and, how, people could gain their rights back. But ultimately, it's about that family. It's about that family unit, because just because you don't, just because your relationship didn't work out, doesn't mean that, your parenting shouldn't work out. Like, you're still a parent at the end of the day.
You're still a parent. And just to let people know, it's like, look, it's better to contract privately than to go in a situation with these entities, because, again, Blessing versus Freestone, they taking 66%.
66, wow.
If you work out something with the other parent, it's like, look, so I know some people, they can't work it out, that you got to go that route.
Right.
But if you have a good rapport with the other parent, it's better to create you guys' own contract. You can get it notarized. That's a federal witness, and that's legally binding.
Yeah.
And it just protects everyone, and that's in the best interest of the child, because now they don't have to see the parents going at each other, and like no child should actually see that, to where, I mean, we see it all the time on the internet, to where people going to get their kids during exchange, they're arguing over haircuts, who cut, it's like, that's not cool at all. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. All right, y'all. TJ Tilman in the building. Childsupportisfraud.com. If somebody wanted to connect with you online, where can they find you?
Everything is Child Support is Fraud. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Child Support is Fraud. I have a backup page on Instagram. It's called Is Child Support Fraud, because the Department of Justice sent me a notice in my federal lawsuit that I got against child support, and I posted it on the internet, and Instagram blocked me from responding to DMs. So if you new and you come sending me a DM saying, Ash, he ain't responding to no DMs, he fake, I can't respond for a whole year. So I think I got probably like 7 more months left.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're.
They got you in
I can see the DMs, but I can't.
DM jail.
Yeah, I can't respond to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, y'all. ChildSupportersFraud.com. Connect with TJ. Make sure you go to ChildSupportersFraud.com. Tap into everything that he's doing. Masterclass coming soon. Make sure, listen, we got some behind the scenes information with him as well, so I need y'all to tap into the abundance community. But we are closing out the vault. Another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. Make sure you visit us. Follow us everywhere at Inside the Vault. Also, go to InsideTheVaultTV.com. Subscribe to us everywhere. I am Ash Cash. Make sure you visit me, IamAshCash.com. Follow me on all social media platforms at I am Ash Cash. And again, join the Abundance Community, at AbundanceCommunity.org. I'll see you next time, same place, in God's will. All right, y'all. Peace.
Take care of them kids, though, man, because this ain't no get out of jail free card.
Let's go.